Thank you, Corey, Gina, and Amir for joining us on a very personal sharing session, okay? You're nervous. Okay. You know, you look a little nervous. Yeah. It's okay. Take a deep breath.
He's the veteran.
Have some vodka. Tito's vodka. No, have some water. No, seriously, thank you each for joining us. You know, as we all know, we're here to talk about lessons learned from some people who have been doing this for quite a while, as well as a nice newbie, which is Gina. And we want to kind of share, you know, some of the things that we've gone through, right? And then also talk about what we're seeing in some of the categories, and then, you know, probably a couple tips for the audience. So what we want to start with is we wanted to start with, first off, just something that is kind of one of your personal, you know, mistakes, challenges, problems that went wrong in your business over the, you know, the last number of years or the last number of months for you, Gina. So who would like to get us started?
How much time do we have? That's the thing.
Okay, well, Corey, I think you're in the hot seat.
I would say that the biggest challenge, I mean, if you had to average out all of the things we screwed up in the last 13 years, I think that finding the right people for the right job has been the hardest thing. Really? Because it turns out that you need other people, which I was not counting on 13 years ago when we started this, and then we needed other people. And I think the mistake we made in the beginning is, you know, we hired people that we liked, right? We wanted to hire our friends or the people we thought were cool, and that was fun for a while. And then when it turned out that we needed people that could actually do the jobs that they were supposed to do, it got to be more challenging. And so it took us a while to kind of figure out like the kind of people to hire. And it's not always experience. You know, some of our best employees have never done what they're doing now, but they're the right kind of people. We call them grown-ups because we can't think of another word, but they're just, you know, people who are responsible, people who care, and people who fit into the culture, you know, our specific culture. But it took a while to figure that out.
So if you wouldn't mind, tell us a specific example of something that you thought, you know, you had handled with the people, the friends, family, that didn't work out. Because I also think that specifics as we get started here are really helpful for the audience.
That's a good question. We hired some people who were crazy. Absolutely insane.
Crazy fun, crazy period.
Crazy fun is how it starts.
Now, quick raise of hands.
crazy.
How many people had crazy fun last night? Yeah? The ones who are not in the room. Anyways, yeah, so, okay, so that's how it started.
And then the fun part goes away, and then it's just the crazy that's left.
Oh.
And that's when you have to, and it's tough because, you know, you especially when we first started out, I mean, there were four of us. Actually, my three partners, and we had one employee, and, you know, you'd bring people on, and we didn't know what we were doing. This is 13 years ago. The subscription box, that word didn't exist. It was just called shipping stuff all the time, which is what we did. And we found people we liked, and that was great until we started to learn what we were doing, and then some of those people, either they didn't fit in, or they couldn't hang, or they were crazy.
Okay, so moving from crazy to Gina.
Launching was our biggest mistake. We were not.
Okay, where do we go from that?
We were not prepared. I mean, we had a successful business through markets and natural grocers and Whole Foods and all these things, and we thought, you know what? All of our customers were saying, how do we get it in South Dakota? How do we get it in New York? How do we get it in Florida? And I think Cammie, who's my partner, said, let's do online. And I'm like, okay, let's do online. So we took about 3 weeks and we put it up. Well, we went from 0 to 15,000 in 2 weeks, and we were like, oh my God, now what do we do? You know, we were just horrified because we the tenets of our company are love, integrity, purity, and sustainability. Now, we were missing out on sustainability because we weren't shipping sustainably, and it really bothered us. So we shut it back down. We're like, okay, stop. We applied for the FedEx grant, which we were one of the winners, and partnered with them, and they are helping us to build a more sustainable, green packaging system so that we can ship, because we're perishable. So we have to ship frozen. And Cammie has worked so ardently on trying to figure out the green aspects, because we're very conscious of our carbon footprint. So, I mean, launching before you're not ready, and now I'm one of those people that dives in first and then asks questions. I've always been that way. So I think, yes, jump in, but also just be aware of what is going to happen, because it really caused us to shut down our online sales, step back and say, okay, we know we can succeed at this. How do we do it successfully and within the tenets of our organization, so that we aren't just shipping a box with styrofoam, which is not who we are as a company. So I think that was launching.
That was a big one.
That was a big one. It was.
Well, it's interesting because there's so much energy sometimes around people saying just ship, because
Yeah.
a lot of people never get to that point.
Yeah.
They sit, they brew on it, they think about it, they rearrange the box, they rearrange the business model, and they don't ship.
No,
but sometimes
I got 4 kids. It's like, Mama, jump. Okay, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? I mean, I'm in constant motion. So when someone says, can you ship to me in South Florida? I'm like, yeah, I can ship to you. Not a problem. Well, my first ship was through USPS, and of course it arrived 5 days later, and my perishable food. It's perished.
It's perished.
Gone. So yeah, I mean, I think just stepping up, but also stepping up with, and when you make those mistakes, step back and say, you know what, I own that mistake, but I'm going to find the people who know how to do this, and they're going to help me, because I know I can do my end. I'm not a shipper. I'm a chef. So it's like, find me someone who can ship, and that's what we did.
So I feel like I should take a moment before we get to Amir on the first question, just make sure everybody knows, even though everybody's bios are certainly on site, is Gina, you produce
Organic seed to shelf, so we grow our own produce. We're vegetarian. We do soups, sauces, pestos, tapenades, hummuses. We're launching a baby food line, but it's all, you can, for instance, our carrot ginger soup, the first ingredient is love, water, carrots, ginger, coconut, rosemary. That's it. So you know what's in your products. We believe the better people eat, the better they will behave. And we think there needs to be, seriously, I look at my 8-year-old, when they go to school and eat Doritos, I'm like, excuse me, you little brat. And then when they come home and eat mama's food, they're angels, right?
That's all it takes?
That's all it takes.
Can I start over again?
Yeah.
No.
I know, right?
No,
I did.
mine are great. So no, all good. Corey, just real quick, you guys sell,
We
subscribe.
sell a lot of stuff. We're the largest gourmet gift of the month club, I'm pretty sure, in the country.
Yeah.
We have Amazing Clubs is the largest brand that we have. We own 4 or 5 other smaller subscription box companies that do wine and pasta and stuff like that.
Okay, great. So Amir, so if you could share with us just real quickly what you do. And then, obviously, if you can share with us, something that's a personal mistake that you made in the early days.
Well, Cratejoy helps people start subscription boxes. So we've got a platform so that new sellers can easily set up their store. We've got an educational mini site subscription school. We've got a Facebook community, and then we've got a marketplace where we actually do customer acquisition, provide that sort of world-class experience for the subscribers. They can easily come in and manage their accounts, buy multiple subscriptions, gift subscriptions. I've made basically every mistake, and our company's made a ton of mistakes. I think that if you sort of boil down all the mistakes, besides the people one, they all kind of boil down to trying to do too much at once. Mm-hmm. And for us, because we've got thousands of sellers using Cratejoy and then millions of subscribers on the other side, already, without us having to try, there's a natural tendency to get pulled in too many directions, right? And then on top of that, if we have this sort of like shiny thing syndrome, we allow ourselves to get pulled in too many, even further in too many directions. And if you kind of look at a lot of the mistakes along the road, they actually kind of come back to like, yeah, but like we probably shouldn't have been like trying to like design people's websites as a service anyway, because like that's not core to our business model, and it's like not core to our team's skill set. So it kind of just, I think it's probably, the company you build is, I think, a reflection of the founder's personality. And I would say that's probably a personal struggle, always trying to do too much at once.
So how did you, so you know that about yourself, and I totally understand it because
I haven't stopped though, I'm still doing it, so that's something else about me.
So it's a continuous, we need continuous, right? It sounds like a Japanese sensei deal. So as you work through that, how have you found some ways to say no?
Hire people smarter than me. A bunch of them are in the room over there right now. No, just put really smart people in the room get them focused on what our sellers need, what our subscribers need, and they actually hold me accountable. And generally, over time, I just filled the room with people that are smarter than me.
So I'm hearing a definite theme about hiring others. Like you said, find shippers, not chefs. Other people, not. Were you crazy, by the way?
No, I'm good crazy.
She's,
I'm good crazy. Just to be clear on that.
Okay, we might take a poll on that later, Corey.
Don't.
And then to your point, so it's hiring others. So I think that's certainly a theme that we heard about hiring others smarter than you. And I even saw it sometimes growing up. I came from a small business, environment, and you come from a set of family who that's what they want to do, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. You sub-optimize what your potential is. So I'm all for hiring smarter people than you. So I'm going to switch gears into a different category. Let's talk about customer experience. Can you guys share a customer experience that was a wake-up call? From today? Okay. Why don't you start, Amir? Because it sounds like it's fresh.
Well, okay, has anybody heard of Y Combinator? Raise your hand if you've heard of Y Combinator. Okay, great. So we went through 4 years ago, we went through this accelerator in San Francisco. They're the most prominent. They were the original one. They funded Dropbox and a bunch of these other companies you've heard of. And we had this idea that we were going to put all of our customers in a Facebook group together as a B2B company, right? And we posted on the Y Combinator internal message board, like, hey, we're thinking we're going to do this because we'll be so much more connected to our sellers, and we'll understand what they need so much better, and we'll have this awesome communication channel, and we can put out the educational materials we want. It'll be great. And everybody at YC universally said, you are out of your damn mind, because it's just gonna go so terribly, because you're gonna have one pissed off customer and they're gonna tell all your other customers, and you're never gonna get a wink of sleep in, which they were totally right. But it was actually awesome, because it did in fact do all the things that I thought it was gonna do. It connected us to our sellers in a way that's uncomfortably close, but we also know extremely well what it is that our seller community needs. We understand how they think about their business's problems. They understand how they think about how Cratejoy can solve those problems. And I mean, probably weekly, I get a wake-up call from our sellers, because it's just, there's so much happening at once, and there's only so much you can focus on at once as a company. And there's always something that you didn't see that one coming, but in retrospect, it's kind of obvious, and then you have to scramble to somehow start handling it. So our Facebook group full of sellers continuously wakes us up.
So I'm going to ask, because really both you and Corey are dealing with scale of numbers. Gina, you're clearly going to get there, so I've got a special question for you. But when we were talking with Matthew from Loot Crate yesterday, one of the challenges that he said he has is that as you grow, the sheer numbers of no's, unhappy people, complaints increases, though the percentage likely hasn't necessarily. But nonetheless, now we'll use this kind of thunder and rain analogy. How do you balance all of that? Even though I know it's good, but nonetheless, it's a lot of commentary, and make sure that you also keep doing the things that are working right? Because you still have, as a percent, probably, 80, 90% of people are still really thrilled. How do you balance that in your organization so they don't get down or get pulled off of what you are doing right?
That's
So
a
we
good
can start
question.
Corey and then Amir, because again, you guys are both dealing with scale.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So one of the things that we learned along the way as we got bigger was that when you had, we'd have customer service come to us and say, oh my God, the phones are ringing because, you sent a pie that sucked, right? And you can't send sucky pies, by the way, in case you were going to do that. And we would say, oh, geez, that's terrible. How many calls did we get? And they would say, 9 people called. And it was like, okay, guys, 9 people is 0% of the pies that we sent. Now, we need to consider that and figure out, is there an issue? Is there a packaging issue? Does the pie suck? But it was really about trying to share the good stuff, right? It was trying to solicit feedback from people, because unsolicited feedback usually is terrible. But the solicited feedback overwhelmingly is positive. And so it was learning to balance those, but also to take seriously the complaints that you got. Now, if somebody goes on Facebook and says, this is terrible, okay, I mean, it's one person. If it's 30 people, okay, great. Now, if it was 5,000 people, you'd have a big problem, right? So I think it's really just a matter of balancing. But it was tough because, especially me, I take everything personally. I don't want anyone to be unhappy. So I would get really upset, and I would yell and scream, and then we would realize it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard if you have a pleaser personality, right? How about you, Amir? How do you, and again, it's also taking, it's the TLC of your staff, so they don't get all twisted and down.
Yeah, it's actually really difficult because there's recency bias, right? Like, so anything that happened the most recent feels like the thing that's the most important. So if a person had a bad experience or emailed you all upset most recently, like, there's this tendency to want to focus on that as the biggest problem. In the next meeting you have when you're talking about what should we work on, you think of that thing. And that's when you have to use data to really counteract that. So that's one of the things. The other thing is, for most people, the impact of a negative experience is much stronger than a positive experience that happened in the past. So for myself, I actually carry around testimonials in my phone of that merchants have sent to me. One of them in particular was posted by a mother who was actually able to, she basically said, for my first child, we didn't know how we were going to feed him. And now we're having my second child, and they've got a college fund. We own our own house, and that's because we're able to start a subscription on Cratejoy. And carrying them around, reminding myself of all the good that we have done, really helps when you get that email that is just like, wow, we really failed there, and we kind of suck because we failed there, and you just got to deal with that. But it really helps to pull that up and be like, but like, look at all the good that we've done.
Fantastic tips. Gina, let's talk about some customer experiences you've had. I know you're in your early days, but you've had them. So let's talk about one that was another kind of a wake-up call, or how you dealt with it.
One day, Cammie and I got into the office and we had this message from Prudence. She was 89. This stoop is horrible. What are you doing selling this? I mean, she left us this long-winded message about how awful our product was. And I'm like, oh my God, what do we do now, right? So we stopped and we called her and we said, just talk to us. Tell us what you don't like. And what I learned is, so our soups are, like what she had received was curried French lentil stew, a Moroccan red lentil stew, a chipotle black bean and sweet potato soup. So all these incredibly flavorful, rich soups. What she really wanted was a tomato soup. And I'm like, so it was know your customer. I mean, but her daughter had ordered it for her in the hopes to make her eat more healthy, because our food is all low in sodium, we're heart healthy, all those things. So her daughter wanted her to eat well. But it was okay. So we create. We're in the process of creating. We have a heart healthy package that's for seniors. We have it's for a new mom package, a chemo package for people that we work with hospitals to help feed people in a nutritionally balanced way, and in a way that's good for the program that they're on through their health issues. So. That call prompted all of that. We're like, oh, we don't want to just feed people, some fun, great products. Let's delve into other areas, and that was all from Prudence calling us, telling us how horrible our soup was. So it was.
Well, I think that's a wonderful way to also say, we've heard it from Renan earlier today, John Fetto yesterday, and others have demonstrated, is the power of personalization.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people. I think it's a very creative way that you channeled what Prudence shared.
Prudence loves us now.
Oh,
I mean,
bet
we
she
talk to her
does.
monthly. We're like, what do you want this month, honey? And I make soups just for Prudence. It's like, okay, she wants a butternut squash with nothing else in it. We can do that. It's like, and yeah. She's kind of warms my heart. So we do kind of cherry pick and hand pick, and I make soups with her in mind for that clientele, because we actually have a lot of grandparents and a lot of college kids, and people who want to send food to their loved ones who are, at school and elderly who are, they call Gina Cucina, and we ship it out because they know they're.
I think that's a wonderful example again of how you can use the power of personalization in some ways that you might not think.
Yeah.
It's not just about demographics; it's about taste and age and lifestyle. So excellent example. Okay, so I'm going to switch gears to now another little topic here: money in business models. Talk to us maybe about. Again, it's we all know that kind of the exciting part is creating, the box, right? Or your sellers, the boxes. But it's also about the business model, which is really going to help you grow enduringly fantastic businesses. So talk to us perhaps about a business model that you thought you were going down that path, and you're like, I don't know. Something happened and that's not working. So whoever would like to start us off?
Man. It's a hard one.
I can just
Take
speak
it away.
a little bit to that. So
Okay.
we're kind of a bootstrap company. Every money we make, we put back in. We've never had a capital investment. And never wanted one. We're like, we're doing this. We didn't want to be beholden or anything. So that's how we thought we would go on. Well, all of a sudden we've hit all this enormous growth, and realizing we don't have the money to make that happen. We have to go find someone to help us. And so that realizing that, okay, yeah, it's great to organically do that, but we're in the hot seat right now and we have all this demand, we're gonna have to buckle down and say, you know what? We need help. Where do we go? How do we bring on an investor that's not gonna overtake what the tenets of our company are, and move forward? And that was really hard for me to say, I need help, I need money, because we have all these obligations in front of us, and we don't want to, and we handpicked which ones. We said no to a lot. As you know, we talked about this, because I do believe we're defined by what we say no to and what we say more than what we say yes to. So, reaching out,
when you
saying,
need
you know
to.
what, we're at a point where we need help. And it was a difficult step for me, because I wanted to do it on my own.
Excellent example. And I'm sure, because we are a room filled of entrepreneurs and startups,
Mm-hmm.
and we're about getting it done, right?
Yeah,
We've got-
and I can't get it done
yeah.
without
Okay.
help.
Corey or Amir, anything come to mind?
I think I wanted to touch on something that these
Yeah.
two guys both said. So in terms of getting stretched too thin, so, and not saying no. So
Yeah.
I want to go back to no. I learned how to say no because I have kids.
Yeah.
And the kids were
Exactly.
born at about the time, the first one that the company started, and man, am I good at saying no now. I say no all the time.
Yeah.
That's all I say is no. But in the beginning, we said a lot of yes, and I said a lot of yes. And I think one of the things we decided was that when the Groupon thing started, when the discounting, whatever you used to call that, we thought that was a good idea to get involved in, and we had an interesting opportunity. And it's one of the only things we've ever done that was a total disaster.
For you guys.
For us, yeah, and it was away from our business model. It was a terrible time to do it, and it was something that we probably should have said no to, and eventually did say no to.
Yeah, and it's interesting, because I think you also hit on a point, is a time and an idea for you didn't work,
Right.
and for another person it does. So I think as entrepreneurs, startups, high growth companies, we all have to be open to seeing what's going on and then figuring out what's right for you, because doing what anybody up here does exactly isn't going to work for you. You can never be a better somebody else. Your company can never be a better company. You've got to define what works for you and be open to those changes.
Or
Amir.
closed.
Yes, or
Yes,
closed.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's good. You made the change, Amir.
So one of the things that I've developed over time as a personal habit is whenever people try to talk about concepts in the abstract, they say churn, or they say our NPS is bad, or they say our customer satisfaction is going down. I try to reframe that as like, you mean the people don't like the product, right? Like, because there's this natural tendency to forget that what churn or customer satisfaction or NPS or any of these things actually measures is like, does the human being who picked up the thing from their door, like, are they impressed with what they got, right? Like, did they like the email that you sent them? So, and the reason I developed that particular strategy of trying to connect it back to the personal, like, churn makes it sound impersonal, but like, yeah, but like, did she like it when she opened her door? Like, that makes it like very personal. The reason I developed that strategy is because what I found is that every time we focused on customer acquisition as like a number one priority, it was a mistake. It was always a mistake, because once you get over a certain scale, once you've got enough of a top of the funnel that your business has got people coming in, almost the only thing that matters is how many of them stick around after a given amount of time has passed, right? And every time that we've tried to turn up customer acquisition on one side of the business or the other, subscribers or sellers, it's come at the cost of, did she like the thing when she opened her door, which churn has gone up, right? So I've kind of realized that the way to make people remember this is try to make it like this personal connection over time, because the metrics, they're a useful tool, but they sort of lose the truth as well.
That's a fascinating point, because you're right. It kind of keeps it, well, like you said, impersonal and detached. I wonder that you almost come detached. I assume all of you, like if you were to say during an average week, and I'm going to use 40 hours knowing that is not the number, okay?
Couple of days.
But if we were to look at 40 hours and we say, how many hours do you spend either directly interacting with customers or looking at customer, commentary, but you find it's about the customer? And maybe I'll ask you this, how many hours do you spend, how many do you wish you could spend? Real quick, you don't have to overthink it.
80%. I mean, developing product, but if
Yeah.
our customers aren't happy, then you don't need a new product.
Yeah,
you know?
but I'm just thinking
So,
that
yeah.
customer staying in touch.
Yeah.
And I'll mention an example. I once worked in a university, and I was surrounded by college students. I'd worked in another company where all of our clients were all out of state. I felt it was so much easier for me to be in touch with the students because I was seeing and talking to them all the time, and it reminded me as I've moved into other companies how important it is to just flat get out there or pick up the phone or read the comments. So that's what I was just asking if, I think there's that ideal and there's the reality of your business, right?
Yeah, I think it's less and less as we've gotten bigger for me. I mean, thankfully, we have a staff of people who are in touch with that. I would love to spend 80% of my
Yeah.
time doing it. I used to, when we started.
So finding that.
Well, yeah, when we started, it was well over. I mean, I was doing the customer support myself for the longest time. I had a guy on live chat tell me there's no way that this was the CEO. Like, I'm like, no, like it's actually me. I linked to my Facebook page. Like, but yeah, it's probably down to 5-10 hours a week tops, and even then it's
That's
not.
actually, you're still doing that.
Yeah, but even
That's
then it's not
fantastic.
one-on-one.
That's a lot.
It's an aggregate, right? Like it's dealing with mass communications, not one-on-one interactions. The one-on-one interactions is much reduced.
Okay, so this is the last quick fire question. We're going to start with Corey and then go to Gina and then to Amir. Quick question, one last quick tip for the audience of what you would want to share as your last tip. Your last tip for the audience. Corey.
Hire grown-ups.
Hire grown-ups.
Hire grown-ups. Makes a huge
Okay.
difference.
Gina.
You'll make mistakes, but pivot quickly. Own them and move on.
Okay, I want to move on. Amir.
Make your customers happy.
Okay, Amir, I think there's one more thing you wanted to share.
Well, that was okay. Yeah.
Is
Subscribe-
another tip.
Yeah. Know your product. Know how it's being compared to other products in the market, and the only way you can know that is if you actually get other products in the market. So I personally subscribe to something like 40 subscription boxes, and I'm always rotating out. Actually, if you're a Cratejoy seller, you might actually go search your customer dashboard. Like I might be in there because I'm always kind of rotating them out. And the ones that stick are actually generally the ones for my kid. And I'm looking at all these different types of subscription boxes all the time, and I see clear trends. They're really obvious that this person is low churn, and like their packaging looks great, and like they've got a product insert inside of it, and like the product choice tells a story, and the value is obvious, and it's consistent month to month. That quality is there. Actually, it's getting better, and it's tailored to my needs. And I can see that in all of them. And then somebody will launch a subscription box, and it's clear to me that like they haven't subscribed to a bunch of subscription boxes, or even just a couple good ones, because if they did, they would know that like this is not going to work for them. And those same people saying like, why are people canceling? It's like, well, it's because your product experience is not meeting their expectations, and there's a really simple way of knowing what their expectations are. Go and subscribe to a bunch of subscription boxes, or even just a couple of the best ones.
Okay, so that was something we'd actually talked about in our kind of a pre-discussion. I thought it was so powerful, and that is eat other people's dog food too. I know that might sound ugly, but eat other people's dog food too. Because while it's awesome to be in touch with your customers are living in a world of touching other people's dog food, right? They're using other products, whether they're buying through Amazon. You want to be aware of what's going on. And in all honesty, there's nothing wrong with stealing great ideas shamelessly. If somebody's doing something, wow, that's a great idea, packaging, or how they ship, or how they handle a customer, or they have handwritten notes. You are making your own recipe, right? So you can use other people's ingredients because you're going to package it in a way that's true and authentic to who you are. So I thought that was a great tip that you brought up, Amir. And we then talked about it, and I just want to share with you the generosity of this team up here, because we're like, wow, how could we help the audience, or at least some people in the audience, get that other subscription box experience? So underneath your chairs, not everybody's chair, so I'm going to give you that heads up, actually, Cratejoy donated 50 subscription boxes, so there's going to be a card under a chair. We're going to, yes? Okay, we'll go through the whole list. Gina has also donated some from Gina Cucina Soup. Corey has also donated some year-long subscriptions to amazing clubs. We have 10 gentlemen's boxes, and, oh, here the crowd goes wild, right? And Allure also has donated 50 boxes. So, what you need to do, now I lose control. What everybody needs to do is if you found a card, there are 120 cards in this room. Do not hesitate to look under an empty chair. It's empty for a reason. It's waiting for you, okay? So what you'll do is at the lunch break, you will take your card to the sub-to-table, and you will either collect your box, or you'll need to fill out your card, put it in the big silver bowl on the sub-to-table, and Amir, Gina, and Corey, and Gentleman's Box will fulfill it. So I want to say thank you, and I hope we all can, to our amazing panel. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.